Have you ever noticed how a simple word like school can stir such a storm of memories? The smell of chalk dust, the clatter of wooden desks, the hush that fell when the headmaster entered the room. Back then, education wasn't just about arithmetic or grammar, it was about becoming someone. It demanded your posture, your attention, your respect. Now, you walk into a modern classroom and you're greeted by tablets, beanbags, and group projects with titles like Exploring My Inner Voice. And the children, God bless them, call their teachers by their first names and negotiate their grades like business deals. So, what happened? Today, we're not just going to talk about school buildings or the books we read. We're going to dive deep into the heart of what education used to mean and what it has become. The good, the bad, and the truth most folks won't dare say out loud. We'll look at uniforms and discipline, respect and rebellion, punishment and praise. We'll walk the long corridor from the past to the present, and maybe, just maybe, find a lesson worth relearning. Once upon a time, though it feels like several lifetimes ago, school was more than just a place. It was a rite of passage. We wore uniforms not for fashion, but for unity. Iron collars, polished shoes, every button in place. We were all equal, rich or poor, inside that gray wool blazer. It wasn't just attire, it was identity. And slipping into it each morning was like stepping into duty. Respect for teachers wasn't optional. It was ingrained. You stood when they entered the room. You addressed them as sir or miss, not because they demanded obedience, but because they deserved it. Their role wasn't to entertain you or negotiate with you, it was to shape you. We had discipline. And yes, we had punishment. The king wasn't a myth. The dunce cap wasn't just a cruel joke, it was real, and so was the sting of embarrassment when you wore it. But through it all, there was structure. There were boundaries. You knew what was expected of you. Curriculums were simple but rich. We memorized poems. We learned multiplication tables by heart. We could name every king of England and every river in Europe. There was pride in knowledge, not just utility. But as decades passed, something shifted. Education became industrialized, bureaucratized, then digitized. Somewhere in the midst of all that progress, we lost the soul of schooling. We became obsessed with efficiency, innovation, and equity, but forgot that respect, humility, and rigor were the soil from which real learning grows. Children stopped fearing failure. Parents began blaming teachers. And slowly, the foundation that once anchored us began to crack. I still remember my headmaster, Mr. Wills, like he's standing beside me. He was tall, at least, he seemed so at the time. His shoes clicked ominously on the wooden floorboards, and when he walked into a classroom, a silence fell that you could slice with a ruler. I was 11 when I got caught passing a note to Elsie Cartwright. A foolish little scribble about her ribbon, no doubt. Mr. Wills didn't say a word. He simply held out his hand. I placed the note in his palm, trembling. Then came his gaze, those heavy eyes that made you feel like your soul was being weighed. He didn't shout. He didn't hit. He did something far worse. He called me to his office after the bell. Sat me down. And he spoke, not as a tyrant, but as a man who believed in my potential more than I did. "Boy," he said, "you've got a sharp mind. Sharper than most. Don't dull it with nonsense. Discipline is the brush that sharpens genius." I never passed another note. Not out of fear, but out of respect. Mr. Wills understood something we've forgotten. Children aren't born wise. They learn it through guidance, through structure, through consequences. Through love, yes, but love that carries expectations, not indulgence. Walk into a modern classroom today, and the difference is staggering. Walls painted in bright colors. Learning corners with beanbags and motivational posters. Interactive whiteboards. Tablets in every hand. Lessons that meet students where they are. Sounds lovely, doesn't it? But beneath the surface, something's missing. Uniforms are rare. Dress codes are suggestions, not standards. Respect for teachers? Often conditional. Punishment is controversial. Parents storm schools to protest grades. And education is marketed like a product, customized, child-led, trauma-informed. Today's students learn empathy before spelling. They're taught to be inclusive before they're taught how to multiply. They question authority before they understand responsibility. And the saddest part? Many can't read cursive, write a coherent letter, or name a world capital without Google. There are bright spots. We've made incredible strides in accessibility, mental health, and creativity. But we've also removed the very structure that allowed young minds to thrive. Is it progress? Or confusion dressed in modernity? Maybe both. We've traded obedience for openness, memory for mindfulness, and fundamentals for feelings. But knowledge, real knowledge, is not afraid of discomfort. It requires struggle. It requires humility. It requires teachers like Mr. Wills. So where does that leave us? Education has evolved. Some changes were needed, yes. But some of what we lost was precious. We abandoned the blackboard for the smartboard, but we also abandoned the discipline that made young minds sharp. We need a new balance. A system that blends compassion with rigor. That teaches both kindness and accountability. That sees technology as a tool, not a crutch. One that restores respect, not just for authority, but for knowledge itself. Because a generation that does not respect learning cannot build a future worth learning about. So let me ask you. Yellow circle, what do you remember most about your school days? Yellow circle, were your teachers strict? Kind? Both? Yellow circle, do you think children today are learning what really matters? Drop your story in the comments. Let's not just reminisce, let's record our wisdom for those who need it. If you found this video thought-provoking, give it a like, share it with a friend, and hit that subscribe button. Next week, we're diving into dating, then versus now, and let me tell you, it's going to be juicy. Until then, stay wise, stay warm, and never stop learning.